Welcome to Student of the Game podcast, where we help you master the fundamentals, fall in love with practice, and win at the game of life. I'm your host, Brad Noll. Welcome to the classroom. Welcome back to another episode of Student of the Game. This is a solo episode. We're here to recap the interview with Kelly Werth. Kelly Werth is a team member of ours, just celebrated her first anniversary, her first work anniversary with us, and we're so excited for her and what she's meant for our team and for our company. Kelly brings tons of professionalism. She brings tons of experience. She definitely has that growth mindset. But one of the things we talked about was betting on yourself. Betting on yourself. Right now, think about this. Are you betting on yourself? Whatever you're doing, are you betting on yourself? Do you have things throughout your day that you have to be the one to show up? Are you competing with the former version of you? Are you in competition with the best version of you? Are you in competition with your potential, your full potential? I think if we ask the question right now, do you have any untapped potential? I think that answer is yes. So, you take Chris Myers, who was on a couple episodes ago, answering the call, talked about answering the call, stepping up and answering the call to switch careers. And then we got Kelly. Kelly recently joined us from another real estate brokerage. She's had tons of experience in real estate. And the theme of her conversation was she had to bet on herself. When you enter into a small business, when you enter into a commission-based sales business where you don't get any income until a client has a great experience and closes on a transaction, when your income is based on how successful you are, you kind of have to bet on yourself. When your income is at risk because you're not that good, you better go bet on yourself. You better add some tools to the toolbox. But a couple things. So here are some things that stuck out from the episode. Betting on oneself. Kelly's had several different career shifts. She's super talented, and so has a lot of gifts and abilities that she's used in prior careers. And so Kelly's career shift and success really illustrate the importance of trusting your abilities and really the transformative power of taking calculated risk. There's power in taking a calculated risk, not a foolish risk, not something that's just so crazy that I woke up one day and said, I had a dream, I'm just going to do this. I have no experience. But Kelly has a lot of experience. And so she decided to take this calculated risk and bet on herself. She worked in an office, but had a real estate license, had a successful business, and came over to our office and, was kind of asked to bet on herself and to help us grow our business. And, through doing that, she's mentioned what her life's like now. She's in better health. She's spending more time with her family and friends. Are you somebody right now that you wish you had more time to dedicate to your health? Are you somebody who you wish you had more time for your family and for your friends? I know there's been a lot of times in my life, including recently, where if you think about this, you ask yourself the question, what hobby do you have right now? What hobby do you have? There's some things that I like to do. Do you spend time in those things that fills your tank up? And if it's not, it's probably because you're drifting. It's probably because you're working, you're grinding, you're focusing, you're believing in the mantra of one day. One day I'll have a hobby. One day I'll spend more time with my family. One day I'll go on that vacation or take that trip, or connect with that person that seems maybe a little, too good for me right now. But betting on yourself it illustrates the importance of trusting in your ability and then taking calculated risk. And that's something that Kelly's been doing. And she's doing a fantastic job with that. She's helping our team grow. Her ability is helping our team grow. That's another thing, when you're betting on yourself, surround yourself with people that, that's a sure thing. It's a calculated risk when you bet on yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're around the right people, it's going to become a sure thing. All right. And go bet on yourself. One of the fundamentals you talked about was communication. Effective communication, and timely follow-ups is what she highlighted. They're key components of successful client relationships as well as successful transactions. So if you want to experience any part of success in your business, there needs to be effective communication, timely follow-up. We talk about that all the time. We say that communication is an exercise in memorization. If your clients, if your family, your friends don't memorize what you're saying, you didn't effectively communicate it, or they're just really distracted, both. But because this is what we believe, we want to be great communicators, and great communicators are great at clarifying their message. Communication is fundamental in what she does every day. Kelly talked about the power of relationships, emphasizing building and nurturing genuine relationships. If you're in a transactional business, and most people have a transaction. Few businesses have what we call recurring revenue, where, like insurance or financial advising, if you just keep re-upping every single year, that's recurring revenue, and that's great. And there's a lot of skill sets that takes. But when you're in a business where you're selling, promotional products, or you're selling houses, or you're selling cars, or you're selling a product that really is kind of a bigger purchase and it's a one-time sale, it can feel very transactional. And I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, but a lot of times on, January 1st, it's the worst day of the year for most salespeople. January 1st and in the month of January or leading up to it is the worst time of year. It's because, there's that pit in your stomach. That pit in your stomach is like, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to duplicate this last year? How am I going to grow my business? How am I going to grow my sales? How am I going to grow my influence and my impact? And I think what you have to come back to is, in the power, there's power in relationships. We say relationships win, and there's power in relationships. And just like money, just like your investments, relationships are compounding. The more you invest in somebody, that person appreciates. The value of those relationships in your life appreciate when you spend more time deepening a connection with somebody. The power of relationships, Kelly did emphasize, nurturing them and building them. That's what is going to, radically change her business over the next few years. Matter of fact, if you caught the podcast, you heard me say that she's going to double her business in the next 5 years, if not sooner. And it's going to happen. Time out. Student of the Game is brought to you by Noll Team Real Estate. Our mission is to eradicate mediocre real estate transactions. On your largest financial purchase, you shouldn't have to deal with average. We do this by helping you save time, reduce your stress, and helping you keep as much money in your pocket as we can. You can help us out by introducing us to your friends or family who want to make confident real estate decisions, whether buying, selling, building, or investing. At Noll Team Real Estate, we are connected to a group of realtors who sell 1 in every 8 homes in North America. If you know someone moving out of your area, there's a great chance we can connect them to somebody we know, like, and trust. Remember, relationships win. Now back to the show. Success leaves clues. One of the things that we talk about all the time is people usually overestimate what they can get done in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can get done in a decade or in 5 years. So when you look back, 5 years, 10 years, ago, you're probably in a place that you didn't even think was possible. How can you get into that mindset where you can think 5 to 10 years down the road from now? It's tough, isn't it? I know, even today waking up, I'm thinking about my own challenges. I'm thinking like, oh, my allergies are bad and I got to record a podcast. I probably should just hold this off. Well, guess what? I do not negotiate with my feelings. All right, I'm going to say that again. That's a line that a friend of mine just posted on social media. I'm going to have him on the podcast, but he just posted this. He went out for a run early in the morning, and one of the things he just said is, anytime I'm chasing my goals, anytime you are chasing your goals, do not negotiate with your feelings. You're never going to win. You're never going to hit your goals when you negotiate with your feelings. You negotiate with the person who's thinking clearly when you're setting the goal. All right? When you're setting the goal, go ahead and negotiate. Figure out, can I do this? Should I not do this? Is this a stretch? What do I have to sacrifice? Great, negotiate. But when the goal is set, we do not negotiate with our feelings. So we did this podcast today. Whatever you have on your mind right now, stop negotiating with your feelings. Feelings are false. Feelings are in the moment. I always like to say, the self-employed person, they're like, oh, you don't have a boss. It's nice. You work for yourself. No, actually, who I work for? I work for the person who on Sunday night was planning his week, was thinking very clearly about the objectives of this week. The person Sunday night who was thinking about the tasks that needed done this week. The person Sunday night who was thinking clearly. That's my boss. And I make sure I get my notes down, and that's who I'm working for. Because that person was thinking clearly. The guy today wants to go golfing. The guy today doesn't want to make all the calls. The guy today doesn't want to do the hard work. Why? Because it's a feeling. But I am not going to negotiate with my feelings. And you should not negotiate with your feelings either. If you want to bet on yourself, do not negotiate with your feelings. Kelly talked about work-life balance. Achieving a healthy work-life balance is not only possible, but it's essential. Listen to this. It's essential for sustainable success. It is essential for personal fulfillment. If you are not experiencing personal fulfillment, there's a good chance it's because, you're burning the candle at both ends. Ask yourself the question, what needs to happen in your life so that you can, number one, feel fulfilled, but number two, how do you give to others, right? Like, you ever driven through the drive-through and the paid for the person behind you? It's fulfilling. But if you don't have any money in the account, you can't do that. Some of my best days are the days that I just come in and serve others and see what everybody needs. That fills me up. I had this thought this morning. I was dropping my daughter off at carpool, and you ever been to a four-way stop? One of the biggest flexes ever when it comes to time is letting two people go at a four-way stop when it's your turn. Think about that. You ever been to a four-way stop and it's your turn? It's like, oh, I'm in a hurry. I gotta go. It's my turn. You ever just like wave two people on at a four-way stop? That's like the ultimate time management flex. Like, hey, I'm not in a hurry. Why don't you guys go today? I don't know why I just had that thought, other than the whole work-life balance. When you're present, the person, I believe the person who's the most present is the one who's in the most control in a room. Not that that's our goal. Our goal is not to control a room. But the person who is the most present is usually in the most control of their feelings, in the most control of their thoughts. And really where that comes from is the balance, that balance of thinking time and activity. Speaking of balance, sodium chloride, salt, right? Salt, one of the most valuable minerals in the world. Sodium by itself will kill you. Chloride by itself will kill you. But salt, put those two together, balance those. It's one of the most precious minerals we have in the world. That's what work-life balance means to me. Not too much salt, not too much chloride, not too much work, not too much life. That's why it's a work life. And it's balancing, right? It's never in balance. It's never perfectly balanced. It's never 50-50. Some days it's 80% work for me and 20% family and life. And some days it's 80% family and life and 20% work. And like that's just how it goes. But being able to have that balance usually stems from, are you in relationship with people? Are you spending time and having the relationships with the people you need to in your life? And we believe relationships win. And we run a business where that's our motto. Relationships do win. And it's just what we believe. And Kelly's business is growing, it's flourishing, and it's fun. It's fun when she can say, I'm healthier than I've ever been, and my business is doing amazing. I'm spending more time with my family, and I'm getting to know my clients better than I've ever known before. One of the other things that Kelly embraces is continuous growth. It's like I've every time I'm around Kelly, she's like, I want to learn more. I want to learn more. I love this. She's like a sponge, and she wants to soak it up. And you would think she's one of the newest people on our team as far as experience goes. She's one of the more seasoned veterans. And when you get, I'm going to speak to sports here in a second. When you get the veterans, when you get the experienced people wanting to grow and wanting to learn, that shifts your culture. If you're somebody who gets stuck because you don't want to grow and you don't want to learn because it's uncomfortable, you're actually impacting culture negatively. I know you don't want to impact culture negatively. I know you don't want to negatively impact your church. I know you don't want to negatively impact your school or your kid's school. I know you don't want to negatively impact your office or your clients. When you do not want to grow continuously, grow constantly is our core value. When you are averse to growing, right? When you have issues with getting better and acquiring knowledge, you're actually raising your hand saying, I'm actually comfortable where I'm at. You got to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. And Kelly embodies continuous growth, embracing a concept of growth. Kelly keeps learning and improving, and it just reflects her success. She's having all the ultimate success in this business because she's focusing on relationships, and it's awesome. One of the cool parts is, as we were wrapping up, she was giving flowers to a lot of people. A lot of people in her life deserve those flowers, but one thing she said in particular is her father. She got advice from her father when she was younger, and he said, "Don't ever forget the value of a handwritten letter." Don't ever forget the value of a handwritten letter. I think that is so powerful. To write or to receive a handwritten letter is something that I think everybody needs to, at some point in time in their life, experience. I know for me, what writing a note does, I know what it does to the receiver because I get pictures, people post on social media sometimes, when I write notes to them. But what it does for me is it allows me to flex my gratitude muscle. When I'm writing notes to somebody, I care about them and what they're going through, and I want it to be personal, just like it says it's a personal note. I want that receiver to know that I was taking the time out of my day to write them a note. And it goes in spurts, right? It goes in seasons. So some seasons I'm great at writing notes, and other seasons I struggle and I need to get back on the bus and write those notes. But Kelly's dad gave her that advice. Don't ever forget the value of a handwritten letter. I'll end it with Benjamin Franklin. Ben Franklin said, an investment in yourself always pays the greatest return. An investment in yourself always pays the greatest return. I hope by listening to this podcast, you want to bet on yourself. I hope by listening to this podcast, I've inspired you to bet on yourself. I know if you listen to Kelly's episode, she's going to inspire you to bet on yourself. I don't know about you, but whoever wins the elections doesn't affect the outcome of my business a whole lot. Whoever's in office doesn't affect the outcome a whole lot. What does affect the outcome is how I show up for myself. Am I willing to grow? Am I willing to learn? At what level am I willing to deepen relationships and build relationships with other people? So I hope you found this enjoyable. I hope you found it inspiring. I hope you bet on yourself. Please know that I'm cheering for you. This has been another episode. Go follow me on Instagram at Brad Noll. We have tons of good content from our guests. But most importantly, send us a DM if you have any introductions, people that want to be on this podcast or should be on this podcast. Student of the game. We want to help you master the fundamentals, fall in love with practice, and ultimately win at the game of life. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Student of the Game podcast. Whatever game you are playing, I'm cheering for you. See you in the next class.